Immediately treated by other officers at the scene with a tourniquet, and then transported here to Eskenazi Hospital, where he's receiving excellent medical treatment as we speak.
And it's our understanding, you said that the officers on scene actually transported the injured officer here. They took him here themselves.
Correct. Yeah, they transported the officer themselves and brought him right here to the hospital for immediate emergency treatment after the application of the tourniquet and receiving first aid there at the scene.
And how is he doing? I understand he's in good spirits. I know the PIO at the scene was talking about that he's in good spirits, a little upset that this happened, but you know, everyone must be so relieved that he's going to be okay.
Very much so. Anytime you have an officer shot, there's that lump goes up in your throat, of course, and so you know, everybody comes together to assist, including our partners with IMPD, state police, and every other law enforcement agency here in the area.
Can you talk about just the key of having that tourniquet? I mean, I know officers are trained to assist in this kind of thing, but being able to administer that kind of aid that quickly, no doubt, made the difference here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. Yeah, receiving that immediate treatment at the scene by fellow officers, and then being immediately transported. Yeah, that's huge. It's potentially life-saving. In this case, our officers did a magnificent job in treating their fellow officer and getting him to the hospital immediately.
And what can you tell us about this officer? He's been on the force for a few years at least.
Yeah, he's been on about 3 years, and he's one of our middle shift officers, and he's a newly trained public information officer. But he was, you know, again, holding the perimeter for this warrant service, and was engaged in gunfire, and it was a very, very fluid situation. So.
I mean, that speaks to the danger of serving warrants. That's one of the big ones that police always talk about as a dangerous time, that and responding to domestic violence incidents.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was a high risk warrant. The officer was holding the perimeter when he was shot, when the suspect is alleged to have come out the back and engaged officers in gunfire, and the officers returned fire, but you know, our officer was treated there at the scene and brought here to the hospital for further treatment.
And I know you haven't had a chance to go in there yet, but when you see him, what's the first thing you're going to say to your officer?
Give him a hug and glad he's okay, and then make sure he has all the resources that he needs for a full recovery, of course.
Chief Gary Woodruff, thank you so much. We're glad that your officer is going to be okay. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Chief Gary Woodruff telling us that this officer is in stable condition with non-life-threatening injuries after being shot in the leg tonight. Officers on scene gave him a tourniquet and actually transported him here to Eskenazi themselves. We're going to go live to my colleague Rachel Kraus now. She is at the scene where all of this took place. Rachel?
Yeah, and Emily, a very scary situation for a lot of officers, and still a fairly active scene out here nearly 2 hours after that shooting took place. I'm here along 46th and Post, and just a few minutes ago, officers that had been blocking off this area did clear the area over here. They do still have a large chunk of 46th Street blocked off as well. Now, according to police, Lawrence Police SWAT team were serving a warrant along Burwood, about a half a mile from where we are now. And police tell us that officers had surrounded the home with 2 suspects inside. That's when one of the suspects left out the back of the home using what police say was a long gun to shoot the officer in the leg. Then police say fire was returned from multiple people. The suspect who shot the officer was also hit. That suspect later died. The second suspect is accounted for, according to police. And Lawrence Police tell us these 2 suspects were known to officers.
So these 2 individuals had open cases. That's why that warrant was issued for these 2. And we're coming to serve it because of the potential threat that they were causing in the neighborhood.
And again, still a very active investigation for Lawrence police officers out here tonight. Police tell us that they will have crews and officers out here at the scene working to gather evidence and working to gather information about what happened. They're expected to be out here for quite some time still this evening. Scott.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much. We certainly appreciate it. As she's been telling us, that crew's been telling us, an officer shot in the leg in the hospital, expected to be okay. 1 suspect has been killed. We'll continue to follow this. We'll check back in with our crews in just a little bit. And we're going to get a response from neighbors living right by the area where this unfolded. So stay with us.
Also tonight, we've got some new details for you about last night's apartment fire that sent 5 people